Okay, I'm happy to hand over the session now to our support program. We have our social work team and our child life programs that will be sharing some updates about all of our services that we offer at Hope for HIE. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Annie. I am the child life specialist at Hope for HIE. And we also wanted to share that the dads are still in their room, so that's why the room is a little bit less empty. They're still enjoying their time. So we're going to go ahead and get started without them, and then they can watch this recorded. So we will get started. I actually, before I even get started, does anybody know what child life is? Does anybody work with child life at their hospital or? Okay, that makes me happy that I'm seeing some head nods. That's good. Just a little bit about my experience. So I've been a child life specialist for about 25 years. I'm recently a certified grief counselor now because I tend to work a lot in that area as well. I've been with Hope for about 3 years. My clinical experience at the hospital includes a wide gamut of things. Mostly it was, can you hear me okay? Mostly the ED, NICU were big parts of where I worked, and then in a outpatient hemat clinic. I also do infant massage. So we did just a few weeks ago, we did an infant massage virtual session. We did 2 of those. So I don't know if anybody here came to those, but I did do some teaching online infant massage, and it was pretty fun. And then a few years ago, I did leave the clinical setting and I started my own practice. So the past few years, I've been just working in the community, and that's how I'm able to work with Hope. I'm originally from St. Louis, and I know there is one St. Louis family here somewhere. There you are. Now I'm in Charlotte, and I've been in Charlotte for a long time, and I'm a wife, and I have 2 teenagers at home. So child life, this is what it is. The core pillars of child life. Developmentally appropriate education. So we're providing information in ways that kids can understand. We're preparing them for medical experiences, procedures, tests, hospitals, surgeries. The foundation of what we do is play. That's how kids learn. That's how they process. So I'm not a play therapist, I often tell people, but I definitely use therapeutic play in everything that I do. Emotional expression and coping support is part of this. This is how we learn to cope with things. Everything is family-centered care. The whole family is affected by a diagnosis or an illness or hospitalization. And then we also work, whether this is in the hospital setting or outpatient or like in the community setting like me, helping you all advocate for what you need in the hospital, letting you know what things are available to you. If you need to be in contact with the Child Life program at the hospital, I've talked with a family recently, just kind of letting them know all the things that they did have access to in the hospital, like a mat or a sound machine or a high chair, just different things like that that you know that you can ask for, comfort holds. As child life specialists, we're trained to help children and families understand medical experiences, putting it in language that they understand, reducing fear, anxiety, and trauma. We know the more that they understand and the more they're prepared for, it decreases stress and anxiety for kids. And then we also work on the coping skills. We teach them how to cope with these scary, weird situations that they often do not like. We process the big feelings. We navigate grief because grief exists with diagnosis, not just with death. It exists with any kind of big changes that happen. And then we use play to build resiliency and processing, I believe is what it says. You can't see it. So this is that was just like this child life in general. This is child life at Hope for HIE and medical diagnosis and education, preparing kids for any kind of hospitalizations and tests, medical play, and developmentally appropriate education. So often I talk with families on the phone, and they will let me know that they have an EEG coming up or they have an upcoming hospital stay. And we just go through ways that they can prepare their child at home. So we can talk about how we use little Q-tips with some lotion to, pretend it's the little the gel that they're doing, and we practice with measuring, and we do all of those little things just to prepare them. And if that's a real sensitivity, then we progress, right? They're going to do it a little bit on you, they're going to do it on a doll, we're going to start on your arm. So there's just different ways that we can prepare kids for the things that they're going to experience, always highlighting the senses, like what are they going to taste, see, hear, smell, feel, because that's how they learn. This picture is actually a great picture of medical play that I was doing with a couple kiddos. So this was a mom's diagnosis, but I brought all of my medical play and they were able to use the materials. So when kids can use the real materials in a play space, then it's non-threatening. They get to learn like the mastery of it. I get to assess and see what they're doing and what misconceptions they have, and then they just get to play through and process a lot of their fears and experiences. I learned so much from kids watching them just play through their medical experiences. So it's really interesting. And then it's just developmentally appropriate education. So again, whatever type of diagnosis or illness that they have, giving them that information in ways that they can understand. Simple, honest information is what they need. That's what helps them understand. Excuse me. Emotional and behavioral support. So big feelings. When these hospitalizations, when diagnoses happen, and this includes siblings as well, there's lots of feelings that come up with this. They're being told they have to do lots of things that they don't want to do. They have no control in a lot of these situations. So it's talking about validating that and then talking about the things they can control. What can we give them control over? What choices can we give them? That gives them confidence, that provides the empowerment that they need. And then recognizing the changes in behavior. Kids, if they can't tell us what is happening, they show us through their behavior. So maybe if they're acting out, they're not being bad. They're expressing themselves in a way, and we need to know what is going on. So often behavior is how they're telling us what they're feeling, because they can't use the words or they don't even know the words that they want to say. Helping parents respond in developmentally appropriate ways. So I have a lot of conversations with parents and let them know the words, the language that they can use to give their children. I love using books because sometimes books give you the language without having to come up with the whole story. And then kids find connection with the books, and then it creates conversation, because that's really what we want to do. We just want to have conversation and open the door for communication. You want them to come to you with questions, right? Therapeutic play and expression. Like I said, this is like the foundation of everything that I do. It's all done through play. And people are like, what about teenagers? Yep, we play too. I have made Play-Doh with high schoolers before, and they love it because I've asked them before, I'm like, when's the last time you made Play-Doh? And they're like, I don't make Play-Doh. And I'm like, oh. And they roll their eyes at me and think I'm crazy. And then they are totally engrossed and they love it. And we create things and they express, they make different things. I give them prompts and they have to make certain things. So any kind of art, creative expression, storytelling, and that builds coping skills. So when kids are doing art and creativity, I'm engaging them in conversation and we're just talking about what's going on. I'm just giving them the space and I'm asking them the questions. And they're more likely to share and talk when they're busy doing something and they're creative and there's not a lot of pressure. And then I do a lot of, and then grief processing as well. I do a lot of activities to incorporate just the grief processing, whether that's, again, with a diagnosis or hospitalization, or if it's with a death in the family. Family and sibling support, coaching parents and supporting conversations. So diagnosis or prognosis, helping the siblings and the parents understand what is going on is obviously just as important as the child who is having the test and the procedure. I'm a huge proponent of supporting the siblings because they need so much support, I think, too. And I have tons of resources for our siblings. And then child and sibling support programs. So that's what we're going to go into, and I'll be able to tell you a little bit more about our programs. Does anybody have any questions about anything so far? So accessing the support, the goal of our child-focused programs is peer support, connection, and empowerment. This is what I want the kids to get from it. I want them to meet other kids who are in similar situations, have similar families. It is going to be now accessible on the website. We've tried a couple different platforms. For those of you who have signed up for Super Sibs or SOAR, we've tried Canvas. We did some mailers at one point, and it was all just to try and get the right kind of engagement to see what would work best. So now it's all just going to live on the website, and I'll still do quarterly drops with activities and resources, and it will all be under us like a Super Sibs tab. And those activities are really just to highlight, like provide confidence, like confidence building, self-esteem, feeling identification, and then lots of resources, whether it's an app that kids can try or books or videos. I find lots of videos that I think are relatable, and I watch and check all of these before I send them out for you guys to just try them. So they're definitely vetted. And then group engagement teleplay. We've tried doing some teleplay, which is an online, it's through Project Sunshine, and it is an online interactive space for kids. And typically it's offered through hospitals, but they're partnering with nonprofits now. So we have tried doing a few sessions. We've done SOAR and Super Sibs. I haven't had anybody join yet and come, but they're very fun. So we're going to try it one more time in May. I think it's May 5th. It's at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and you get like a QR code you can log in, and the kids can join. It's just fun games, a time for them to connect. It's closed group, so it's safe, and I'm on there as well with the Project Sunshine volunteers. So you will see notices about that. And then these are the programs that we have for our kiddos. So we have SOAR, which is for our kids with HIE, support, owner advocacy, and resilience is the focus of that group. And I've tried a couple of things with that too. I've tried to do some like online virtual groups, and it just wasn't really working. So we're doing the website with that too. Super Sibs Connected Hearts is for our kids who have lost a sibling, and then we have our Super Sibs program as well. The virtual support, one-on-one, this is for any child with HIE. So this is beyond the group stuff, but children with HIE, siblings, or parents. These are all the times I would love for you to reach out to me and that I'm here to help you. Anxiety or stress related to medical situations. I mean, I've had conversations, my kid hates blood draws. Yeah, I think most people in general do, right? There's things we can do, we can talk about, we can prepare for, to try, right? We can try some things. Any upcoming tests, surgeries, hospitalizations, changes in behavior or coping, just those things that you're noticing that aren't the norm, we can talk about those and see if we can try something new. If I can give you some ideas or suggestions, it could just some coping ideas that might help. When siblings are just asking those hard questions, and I guarantee you will never say the wrong thing. The most important thing is just to be present with them and give them open, honest communication is really the most important thing, but also happy to be here to just provide that language for them when grief feels really heavy and when you simply feel unsure of what to say. So if I do one-on-one child sibling support, it's play-based, it's virtual, it's tailored to their needs. So everything is very whatever, meeting the family, meeting the child where they are. So I like to talk to the parent first, and you can tell me what's going on, what you think you need help with, what you think the child needs help with, what we need to work on. And then we could do like a one-on-one virtual session. So in my private practice, I don't see a ton of kids virtually. Like I prefer in person for sure, but there's a lot of things I can do virtually to still make it work and interactive, and we can be creative. So the things that I focus on, if I'm doing a one-on-one virtual session with kids, we can still do creative expression and processing. We talk about different coping tools and how do those transfer at home? How can you do those coping strategies at home? Normalized play. Sometimes we just got to play through some things and make it fun. Developmentally appropriate education, medical play. So I have lots of medical play that I can just do and show them on the screen, and we can talk about it and we can ask questions, and it helps me just know what their misconceptions are and then what we need to clarify. And some kids know like so much already, and they surprise me, and they're fantastic. Space to just ask questions. I think that's one really important thing, is just honoring that space and just being quiet and listening. Kids typically want to protect their parents, especially if it's a topic or something that's really sensitive or hard. And they don't want to make their parent upset, especially I feel like if this is a sibling, they don't want to do anything else to increase that stress or anxiety for that parent. I am not going to get upset. I'm not going to cry if you ask me a hard question. I am that safe person to talk to. So a lot of times, even when I do my one-on-one sessions, like parents will be in a different room because then kids can feel free to ask me what they want. And then grief support, of course, when needed. I've done a couple one-on-one grief sessions with kiddos as well. For parents, kind of all of the same things that I've talked about, hospitalization, surgeries, tests. It's really just helping you all feel supported so you know what to do to prepare your child, because preparation really can be key in helping them cope with these changes that are happening. So, and also including the siblings in that. What can we do to help the siblings, making sure that they know what's coming and what to expect? So a couple things, this is like just questions that I might get. Parents often wonder, what do I say? How much do I explain? Am I making this worse? And none of those things are ever true. Instead of don't worry, everything will be fine, just talking, it's okay if you feel scared. The doctors are going to take pictures so they know how to help your brother, like just something very basic. And some kids will ask, are good with that, right? They don't need anything else. Other kids are information seekers and they're going to keep asking, but you can just ask or answer what they ask, and then you can be done. They might come back and ask you again. That's okay. When it's really hard stuff, they got to keep asking those questions because their brain's got to keep processing. I want to touch a little bit on the grief and loss support since I do provide grief and loss support. My grief and loss support that I provide is really only for children. My certification is, and my background is in helping and supporting children. My support for parents is I can help give you the information so you can support your child. But in general, like parents need an adult counselor, whereas I just focus on children. So this is not just a one time, we can sit down and chat one time. This can be ongoing and it can ebb and flow for sure. So memory work, emotional expression, coping strategies, a safe space to ask questions and share their stories. Sometimes kids just want a space to be able to talk about their sibling or their loss. I had a little boy the other day I was working with, and he was like, other than my mom, you're like the only person that I feel like I'm not embarrassed to talk about my dad, because he just didn't have that other space that he can do that. So again, sometimes they just like that safe space. So child life, just one piece of this support system that you need. Hope is one piece. Hope for HIE, we are one piece. Your medical team is one piece. The therapy providers are one piece. Your family and your community around you are one piece. My piece, your child life specialist at the hospital, their piece is focused on emotional safety, preparation, developmentally appropriate understanding, and supporting the siblings. What child life support is not only for a crisis. So many times in the hospital they'd call, like, it was not, kids are crying, like the procedure isn't going well, they're like, come in and fix this. Like, we could have done maybe more at the beginning, like beforehand. So not only for crisis, like of course then we can work on emotional regulation and meeting the child where they're at and bringing them back down, but not only for crisis, we're there beforehand too. Not only if something goes wrong, not limited by geography anymore, we can do all of this virtually. Not something you have to qualify for. Like me and Jen, we're both here all the time. We're available for support, not just for distraction, not hospital based anymore, and definitely not a therapy replacement. So the takeaways for child life: education, play, coping, and advocacy. That's kind of what child life is, either at Hope in the community or in your hospital setting or your clinics, wherever you might have. Maybe at your dentist office even, you might have some child life. That would be great. It supports the whole family. It prevents trauma, not just reacts to it. So I think that is it for me. Yes. Okay. Does anyone have any questions, or is there anything specific that I can share, or anything else you want to know? Yeah. Go back over here. Focus on the senses, so you can still get that medical play stuff out. Like for instance, if you're just practicing like blood draw, like stuff like that, is that what you're thinking of, like medical stuff? Yeah. So like, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So you can still get like Q-tips and lotion or conditioner or whatever. And you're just practicing first, like depending on sensory needs, of course. Like I would practice first on the arm. You feel it, and describe it when you're feeling it. So like it feels soft, it feels cold, it feels wet. No, no boo-boo. It doesn't hurt, but you feel it. And then you can train, then you go this way and like incorporate into like everyday stuff, play, bath time, and just like a little bit at a time. And they'll tell you when she's like, okay, stop, that's enough. And then that's enough. Like we don't want to push her over the edge, but you want to kind of get her ready for it. So it's same thing with like, the rubber band that they use. Everybody hates the rubber band, right? But like, what if we put a tissue down first? We do it over your arm. And then when they're done with it at the hospital, bring it home and practice with it. Practice it on a doll, a stuffed animal, on you. And then they also get to be the doer and not the always the receiver. That's the like mastery that comes with it. They get to practice doing it too. The syringes, like whatever that I always tell families, like whatever you're using at the hospital or in your doctor's office and they're just going to throw away, like, can I take that home and play with it? Play with it in water. Like just play with the hospital stuff so it becomes just not so scary and it's just more of a normal play toy, like paint with it. All of that stuff just desensitizes to the medical stuff. And then they know what it's for. So I think there's lots of ways you can still do it. Um, Even like if she's nonverbal, or like you can still show her and talk to her and tell her all of the things, right? Yeah. Is that helpful? But happy to talk to you. Like, yeah, 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 sure, absolutely. Anybody else have anything? Yeah. With bullying? Oh, um, like when you're talking to, I guess, at, sorry, at school with like on playground, just school, everyday kind of stuff. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think, well, one thing we can do is obviously, with the school, like getting school personnel involved, and I know sometimes that doesn't always work, but I think as far as like helping them, helping your child or helping a child, providing those outlets for emotional expression, emotional release. So maybe that you're not wanting to, maybe you're not fighting. So you have another way to get out that energy, that emotion. So that's where the play, playing through that stuff, that's processing. So when kids are, building and playing and good guy, bad guy, that's also processing and play. So like there's many times I know, like at the one of the centers that I work at, we have lots of good guys and bad guys and they'll battle it out, but that's them battling out and processing through things that maybe they're experiencing or seeing. So like play therapy would probably be really beneficial. But any kind of opportunities for emotional expression, release, movement, just to kind of get that out. And that is a good coping tool as well. And then obviously, of course, validating, like, you seem really sad. Tell me about feeling sad. Because the more we can help them, like, identify how they're feeling, like, name the emotion, identify it, then we can help them cope with it. Because that's hard. Those things are all hard to do, right? Yeah. Anybody else have anything? No. Thank you. Jen's going to talk at social work next.
I highly recommend you use Annie. Child life is very undervalued, underused, and they're magnificent. They were my best friend working in the hospitals because they are just so thinking outside the box. And it's kind of what we need for some of our children. But my name is Jen Schaefer. I am the social worker here at Hope for HIE. I've been a social worker for over 20 years. I've worked in the medical space for over 17 years. Prior to coming to Hope for HIE, I worked in a level 4 NICU for 7 years, working with families with all different backgrounds, including HIE families. And when this opportunity came, I felt it was time to explore different things because I've always felt connection. Why, I don't know. But I've loved being able to sit with families, whether it's just sitting there in silence or processing through, sitting in those difficult conversations with medical providers, giving you the gamut. It always just, it was a hard space. But to be able to sit with families in those spaces was truly an honor for me. And I had learned during that time, I served on the medical advisory NICU board, that there's a huge piece missing. Families don't want to be in that NICU. Families want to go home. But when you go home, you don't have your nurses, you don't have your doctors, you don't have your psychosocial teams. Things get quiet. Minds start going. And that's when things start to become really real and the feelings become really real. And we need supports and we need people doing the work to fill those gaps, because the work doesn't end when you leave the hospital. So when I saw this opportunity, I was like, I think this is where I need to be. So with that said, a lot of people think of social work as support, which it definitely is, but it is definitely much more than that here at Hope for HIE. It's about helping families build connections in different ways. We are working at understanding what your needs are and developing those programs and tweaking programs. We have things that didn't exist before, and we want to show up as advocates for you and being a voice that if you don't feel like you can express that, and how can we ensure that your needs are being met at any given time. So I guess today I just kind of want to give you a little bit more of a picture of what social work means and why it matters. So the foundation of what social work does is to just be present at every stage during the journey. Whether it's a newly diagnosed family, whether it's years out, whether it is after a loss. We want to connect families to the resources they need, whether that's financial, whether that's mental health supports, or just figuring out what comes next, or just being there to listen. So the key takeaway is that families, you are not alone in any of this and navigating. There are people here that will sit with you, that will walk with you. And then we work with the clinicians. We want to partner with the clinicians and those other experts to help fill in the gaps where their work potentially ends, and have more of a seamless bridge to ensure that we're all providing what you are looking for. If you sit on any of my Zoom calls, I always have my giant Yetis. I did not bring that with me today. So building community and connection. Some of the programs that you guys are aware of potentially already are our peer support mentor program, our ongoing support groups, and our hospital ambassador program. Each of these exists, not just because it's nice to have, but they're necessary. They're different avenues. It's not a one-size-fits-all program. And we are continuing to assess what the families are saying, what they're needing. So, community needs. We recently did a family needs assessment. We put it out to the community just to get an idea. What are you engaging in? What is working? What are we missing? And what the clearest takeaway was is that needs evolve and change as life continues. So what families need in those first few months is very different than what they need at 2 years and 5 years. And we've realized we need to evolve with you guys and create those spaces and those opportunities. So with that said, we've already started to expand some of our services. We've created new spaces for families, such as not just that new to HIE group, but beyond. Life isn't all sunshine and roses just because you hit that 1 year mark. So now we've created some groups for families beyond that year, 10 plus. We want to ensure that you have that space and that connection to the families in our community to talk about the good, the bad, and ask questions. You don't have to go at this alone. We've also created a space for mild outcomes. These are families that have also had real trauma and are still navigating this life of uncertainty and questions. And with that said, I recently did a mild outcomes support group. I had over 30 people register. I've never had such an amazing response, and over 20 of them actually attended. I wasn't actually really sure what to do with it. I was just like, go for it, talk about what you want, and we'll figure out how to do this better next time. That told me is this matters. This matters a lot, and they need this space. So with that said, the families that are further along in their HIE journey, we are creating spaces for you to connect with individuals, but I'm also requesting your assistance. Your expertise, your knowledge is beyond valuable. To be able to give back to families who are scared and starting out this journey means more than you can even imagine. So we have opportunities for you to do and give back. And I see some of my hospital ambassadors and peer support mentors here who do a phenomenal job. And I could not do my job without their volunteering, to be honest. They are phenomenal. And I just would love for more people to engage. And I know people are busy, life is busy. We can find different ways to help you get connected. It doesn't have to be something grand and robust and take up a lot of your time. But we can talk about experiences, whether that's just showing up to a newer HIE group to just lend an encouraging word. So definitely let me know if you are ever interested. And I apologize, I'm so shaky. I don't do presentations like this. Okay, so the other big thing that we have learned is people want local connection. If you're in Facebook groups, that is what people want. They want connection. What we have already in Facebook and being able to ask questions and getting responses very quickly, honestly, is wonderful. And it serves its purpose. Having support groups to chat with people, but we're humans and we crave interpersonal connections and meeting people just like us and just having that face-to-face. I think that's why this conference is so amazing, and putting faces with people's names who type out support and questions and answers and all of that. So my goal, I am in the process of expanding our ambassador program. Right now we have a hospital ambassador program that we are still really trying to get off of the ground. For those of you who don't know, we have 5 hospital ambassador sites. What it is there's a hospital that has agreed to partner with Hope for HIE. We have mutually identified, and I'm looking at you, Tina, because she was our trial site, and she is phenomenal at what she does. She is an HIE parent. They are that in-between liaison between the hospital and Hope for HIE. So when families come in The hospitals are very aware of what we can do. They give out our information. They have a flyer of a local person in their community that has been through this experience that they can reach out to her, ask real questions. Is this really what it's about? What do you mean I have to wait 6 months until I have to go to neurology? What should I plan for? And hearing someone that's been through that hospital system, but then connecting them back to Hope for HIE's resources. So with that said, it can be difficult because we need a hospital to engage. We have to find that right provider. Casey, you're back there hiding. She's one of the sites we're just getting up in Wisconsin. Right now, we're looking at creating something a little more simplistic. We need local connection. We are creating a program that's just local ambassadors, volunteers in each state, country, local regions, co-ambassadors that could work together to bring local opportunities, meetups that will collaborate with Hope for HIE and just bring experiences to the communities where people need it. That will allow families to meet each other, form bonds, form relationships, and hopefully allow them to cope through this experience. The other program I am actively working on, our leadership conference in, is that October? In North Carolina. One of the HIE families brought up an idea, got stuck in my head, and I'm like, well, I guess I have to do this. We are going to be doing a pilot support group model. We do new to HIE groups and other groups. People come, people don't come, they show up. Every time you have to introduce yourself, you have to share your story over and over. This new model would be a small, consistent group of individuals. There will be 8 to 10 participants that are going to agree to this model. There's going to be 6 sessions that will be bi-weekly, and they will be led by a peer support mentor. The idea of this is to allow conversations to build, for connections to grow, trust to grow amongst them, that when they're hopefully done with that 6-week session, they will have met new people, that those connections will just naturally continue to occur. So hopefully prior to summer, we're hoping to start getting some feelers out there to start this model. Like I said, it's a pilot program, so then we will tweak, because if it is something that's good, we will go from there. We try whatever we can, but we just really want to try that deeper relationship model. Did I hit the right one? Oh, okay. Now I just want to introduce you to my I say mine, she's phenomenal. Our MSW intern, Kimberly Taylor. Kimberly has been with us for 2 semesters. She's going to be entering her 3rd semester. Her passion is for bereavement, loss. And so we recognized we need to evaluate our loss community and see what we need to do. And I don't want to take your words from you. So I gave Kimberly the ability to run with it, and I'll have her talk about it.
Can you see me? Because I'm really short and I feel like I'm hiding. Okay. What? No, it's fine. You don't need to see my face until we're all good. So as Jen said, I'm an MSW student. As Betsy informed everybody, I am also an HIE lost parent. I've been in the community since 2013. And so I decided to go into social work, and I'm getting my MSW at University of Kentucky. So when it was time for an internship, I was looking around and it's like, oh, well, there's an amazing organization that if they would have me, I would love to work with them. So I'm so grateful for HIE to let me be in this space as an MSW student intern in a community that really means a lot to me. So as Jen said, I did a community poll with our loss groups. Oh, like that? Oh, whoa, wow. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, wow. I did a community poll with our lost group, with our lost families. So we have, I sent out a poll to basically to our Facebook groups. We have multiple Facebook groups that are for our lost communities. And we have probably within those groups over 1,000. I don't know who's in multiple groups. I don't know how many families we're missing because we know we have a lot in the parent hub that aren't aware of our lost groups. But I received a very beneficial number of people. 62 people responded. And this went out to parents, guardians, grandparents, caregivers, and any other family members that we have in our Hope community. And so we got majority of people who responded were parents. We had some grandparents, and then just some basic information we received is that, in our lost community, we had people who were very fresh. They lost their child within 3 months of filling out the form, and others have been in the community for over 5 years, some even longer. And our children, again, who they've lost, they range from newborn, it was as young as 12 years old was one of them, to adulthood was 29. So we have, just like our Hope family, we have, our lost community also is, from infant to adult. And that includes like the changing of grief, the changing of what our needs are as time goes on. So we were trying to figure out, as Jen said, like what's working, what can we tweak, what are we missing, whose voices are we not hearing from? So our current engagement, like as you can see, the Lost Support Facebook group, that's our biggest, a lot of people are engaging with that. Other people are using our social media groups. And so that's amazing. And then we've noticed that the one-on-one type things are not getting quite as much use, and kind of wondering why, especially when you're going through a situation, as many of us are, as whether a lost parent, HIE, you feel isolated a lot. So you want that one-on-one connection. So I kind of wanted to know why they were not seeing some of these resources being used, because we do have Facebook groups, we do have peer support mentor, lost mentors, we have support groups for our lost families as well. And so I also found out, like, what is their preferred general way, not just with HIE, Hope for HIE, but what would you prefer way to get support? And so again, a lot of the reading from stories from other families, so that's the social media aspect. A lot do want to have that one-on-one conversations, facts from doctors and experts, like, tell me what's going on, what's happening here, group support. And then I also wanted to find out, well, why are we not getting the interaction in some of our supports that we do have? And, a lot of them, honestly, was there's just not the time or energy, or I just don't, it's too tiring. It's, I can't connect because grieving, right? It takes a lot out of a person. And another thing was that our families they don't know that we have these resources available to them. And so as Jen, with her community assessment poll, like, they've had time to go through and, like, okay, we know what we're hearing. Let's see what we can do about it. For me, I'm at the stage where I'm contacting our families who wanted to be contacted, so I can talk with them one-on-one. What is it that you really need? You told me in this poll, which is pretty general, but let me have some specifics from you so we can see what next steps we can take. And so, but what kind of the overall message is that, our lost families want connection with others who understand. They don't want to be isolated. Support and resources that adapt as families' needs change. When your child has passed away 5 years ago, you're in a different space than a parent who just lost their child. You have the grief is always there, but it changes with time. And so also options to engage with when ready. Grief can hit you at any time, and you never know what's going to happen. And so being able to, like, okay, I can't make it at this time, but if there's another way I could potentially engage that when I am ready and have that time, what could that be? So, every family's loss matters, and our goal is to keep listening and keep learning and meet families where they are. And we really recognize that, I only 62 responses out of a lot. And we know there are voices across the world, across different populations that we're not getting. And so also trying to find a way to hear those voices as well. So we are here for the lost family. We're trying to make our supports what you're saying you need. And that's what I have to say about that right now. Sorry, I'm not a public speaker either. This is not my jam. Yeah, we talk one-on-one.
I guess you know, with that said, just kind of wrapping up, you know, we just want you to know it's like support's not created for the community, it's built with the community. So please find ways to engage, whether it's seeking out more support. If you're not finding, let us know. We don't know what we're missing unless you share that with us. And, you know, I'm continuously adapting our peer support mentorship program. They're so great on, I'm talking to this family and I'm getting this sense that, and it's like, okay, well, what do we do about this? What do we have the capacity to do? So it really is about listening just as much as supporting. So we are here for you. So please don't ever hesitate to just talk things out. If you need to just chat, we're here. Use your supports. With that said, does anybody have any questions? I think this was, yeah, that's the end of me. Allison.
We have a comment from the Zoom.
Yes.
Deb has said there are a lot of people who have also lost their kids in their teens or later in life. I think we also need to address this group as well.
Yes, and thank you, Deb, for expressing that. That is something that we recognized. We did have a lost group at one point that it was a very diverse population. I actually just held a loss after a longer HIE journey. Unfortunately, I only had one person register. So that didn't go. There she is. I was really sad because I know it is something that is needed. So, you know, all of our groups, we have an events page on our website, and I probably should get closer. We have our events page, you know, every month that gets updated. If you are not a social media person, because that is where Jacqueline does her magic of updating everything that we're putting out, Q&A sessions, support groups, Facebook, Instagram, it is all on there. If you're not sure, you know, the first of the month is coming up. Take a peek at our events page to see if any of those groups resonate with you. But yes, we do recognize that as being one of them. And Kimberly wants to say something. Do you want to come here? Go ahead.
I just want to say to that comment to Deb, yes, that is something that we are definitely seeing. Like a lot of the supports we have, a lot of the interaction we're seeing are from the newer parents, which makes total sense. It's very raw, it's very new, but we don't want to be forgetting those families whose children were not infants, those families who have been, you know, they've lost their child. It's been quite some time. You matter also, and so that is something with the assessment that I have heard that quite a bit. So we're definitely trying to figure out how we can reach you and other families like you. So I just want to make sure that yes, we've heard you and we want to make sure you're not forgotten at all. You do matter. Absolutely. So are there any other questions or comments or anything? Hi, Tina. Yes.
Yes, because it takes a village. Yes, the idea would be to have a model, and ideally it would be to have co-ambassadors because, you know, you are all HIE families and life happens where you guys can work together. And if it's in different parts of a state or a country and stuff, let's get people in different geographical regions because we do have rural populations that sometimes feel it takes me 4 hours to get to my local children's hospital. I'm not coming for a play date in the park. I want to come to a play date because that would make me feel really good, but I just can't do it. So the more people that we bring together to serve as these ambassadors and really getting out into the different areas, and Hope for HIE, myself, would be there to support you and guide you, and having the ability to connect with other ambassadors to bounce ideas off of. So yes, that would definitely be the idea, is to try to have like teams to really bring opportunities to you. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Very good.
Okay. Well,
Thank
thank you so much.